We're heading to week 12 and it's put up or shut up time. We need to find the players off the waiver wire or through trade to help bolster our lineup, to help bolster the depth on our team. I got 15 players for you today that you can take a look at to help your team going forward, to help you get in the playoffs and help you win that championship. Let's go ahead. Let's get this started. First player we want to talk about today shouldn't be on waivers, but might be, so I'm just going to suggest them anyways. And I'm talking about Darius Slayton, wide receiver for the Giants. It's available in 50% of leagues. If you've been following this channel, you have him rostered. Season high last week, 86% share of the snaps on Sunday. Randall Robinson is out for the season. Should be more targets going to him going forward. He had 13.6 points last week on 10 targets. Top 20 in points in the last 4 weeks. Darius Slayton has been productive and consistent. Consistency is huge, especially when it comes to workload for the running back position. And you want those backups who are behind those starters who are getting a ton of workload. This next running back is in a prime spot if he does get the starting role. I'm talking about Samaje Perine. He's available in 92% of leagues. Joe Mixon injured on Sunday, left in the second quarter. Perine had 30 fantasy points on just 15 touches. Perine averages 13.6 points per game and 19 touches whenever he's a starter. The Bengals love to use their running backs, so if something happens to Mixon, Perine's going to step up and get workload. Whatever he does with that, we don't know, but workload matters in fantasy football. His average of 13.6 points per game, along with 19 touches, ranks top 20 right now among fantasy running backs here in 2022. He is a must-get, especially if Mixon slowed down, and especially if something happens to Mixon long-term, because Samaje Perine will be stepping in to get the workload. Going back to a wide receiver you might be interested in, we talked about him earlier this season, but things are starting to change for the good for this team and maybe for these pass catchers. I'm talking about the Colts' Alec Pierce. He's available in 85% of leagues. Got dropped in a lot of leagues after having a spicy start of the season. Had 8 targets on Sunday. Matt Ryan's back. He's floating the ball around a little bit. Everybody's getting some chunk plays here and there. Alec Pierce gets air yards. He's going to get deep targets. He will have volatile production. There will be very low games, and there will be some spike weeks. You can't really trust him, but if you really need a wide receiver who can get you big-time fantasy points on any given week, look at Alec Pierce. His bye is on week 14, and we all know rookies, when it comes to after the bye, sometimes get extra production, extra workload after their bye week. So look into Alec Pierce. Staying with the theme of backup running backs who are playing behind a starter who gets a lot of workload, how about we look at Matt Breida here? He's right behind Saquon Barkley. On Sunday, he got 20% of snaps, 10 fantasy points on 4 touches. Saquon Barkley is RB1 in workload. Breida gets 85% of the backup snaps behind him. Top 15 in yards per touch since 2017. He's a great insurance policy if you're just looking for a running back that might just step into a role later in the year if something unfortunately happens to Saquon Barkley. Like I've been saying all year long, these rookie wide receivers are the few wide receivers in the league that really increase their production throughout the year. They develop throughout their initial rookie season. We're seeing this with Trailon Burks. Even though he's coming back from injury, he's still available in way too many leagues. He broke out last week, had 8 targets, had 111 yards, equated to 21.1 fantasy points on just 50% of the snaps. His snap share is definitely going to increase going forward. They're also going to want to see what kind of mileage they get out of him. They also want to use him more. Obviously, you got your first-round rookie out there healthy. You're going to want to use him. So it's evident that he's going to get higher than a 50% snap share going forward for the rest of the season, especially when you look at the rest of that wide receiver depth chart. If you still need a running back, then this running back might be there for you, but he shouldn't be, especially if you've been following this channel, but I want to recommend him at least one more time. And if I don't, someone in the comments will be asking about him because they did last week, and I'm talking about Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is injured. He had his career game last week with 107 yards on 15 touches, 15 or more touches in his last 2 games. Favorable schedule going forward. We should see him ignite for the rest of the season. We should see him blow up. He will be getting opportunities. He has top-tier athleticism, and he's in one of the best offenses in the league. He shouldn't be on the waiver wire, but if he is, get him. If not, try to trade for him if you can still trade in your league. But here's a wide receiver that you can get off waivers. Should be available in almost every league unless you're playing with some savvy players. And I'm talking about Demarcus Robinson from the Baltimore Ravens. He just had the second best game of his career, 24 PPR points on 9 targets, and he played 81% of the snaps. Out of all the wide receivers, Lamar's been trusting him the most. Look for him to continue to get targets. Look for him to continue to get air yards. Staying with the theme of backup running backs who are playing behind a starter who's getting a ton of workload that we can suggest for you to pick up just in case as an insurance policy. How about we look at Nacho Hilliard of the Titans? Plays behind Derrick Henry, who leads the league with 23 carries per game. If he misses time, everybody will be rushing to the waiver wire for Hilliard. You can get him then. You may not get him if that happens, or you can just get him now and just stash him as an insurance policy and just look at him as an insurance policy. Maybe you get to use him, maybe you don't, but he's there if you need him. This veteran wide receiver is back, and he's back in a big way because he's with his old quarterback. He's healthy now, and he saw 55% of the snaps and still was productive. We're talking about Randall Cobb from the Packers, had 73 yards on 6 targets, 19 targets in 2 healthy games with the Packers this season. So Rodgers definitely still loves them. They're still together. They're still got that pack together. He's available in 96% of leagues. And honestly, from what we look at the Packers, if you're a wide receiver, you're lining up, running routes, any game could be your day. So maybe it could be Cobb a few more times this year. A running back that I want to touch base at least one more time this year. He should not be on waivers, and shame on you if he is on waivers. A lot of people are saying he's a hot waiver wire claim of this week. Should have been last week, but it's Rashad White from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I shouldn't have to be talking about him still right now, but I have to because I'm seeing a lot of other people talking about him as a waiver claim. My subscribers have already rostered him for weeks now, but he's a priority waiver ad if he's still there. Should be rostered in every league. He's Tampa Bay's new RB1, 105 yards on 22 touches in his last game. Also a dynamic receiving threat, has size-adjusted athleticism, and is playing with Tom Brady. Here's a veteran wide receiver who is coming back. Should be back very soon. I'm talking about Odell Beckham. The thing about him is he's going to be going to a good opportunity, to a good team with a good quarterback who's fighting for a playoff spot. Could be Dallas, could be somewhere else, but he will be on the field. He will get a decent snap share starting off. Targets could be going his way, but he will get the opportunity. Why fight for him off the waiver wire? If you got a spot, you might as well stash him now if you need a stash wide receiver. But if you want to play it safe and you want a wide receiver who has been producing, who has been getting good workload, good usage, look at Donovan PeoplesJones. He shouldn't be on waivers anyways because he has been balling, but he might be in some of your leagues. Look at him, look him up, but he's been solid for the Browns. He just posted 5 catches for 61 yards, 5 or more catches in 3 of his last 4 games, a 93% snap share or higher in each of his last 3 games, 11 plus fantasy points in 5 straight games. Deshaun Watson's coming back. Money printer go burr. 30% of his targets are not catchable. So you can't get much worse because the volume's not going away. If he continues to get targets and say only 10% of them are not catchable anymore, then obviously we're going to see an increase in production. If he's not there and you want to take a shot on another wide receiver, I have a bit of a gamble for you, but this guy might hit for you. It's Khalif Raymond of Detroit. 13 targets in his last 3 games, 4.3 targets per game in those contests, 91.6% route participation rate. He is on the field, he's getting air yards, he's getting opportunities, and he's on the waiver wire in a ton of leagues. Another wide receiver that you may want to think about, I'm not giving any guarantees, is Greg Dortch of Arizona. Saw 10 targets in week 11. Rondale Moore is hurt. He could be stepping back into that role, getting those short to intermediate targets. We could see him in opportunities where he's getting a good volume of workload to allow him to be productive. This wide receiver has been a roller coaster in the last few weeks, but he does have the potential to give you some boom plays. I'm talking about Terrace Marshall of Carolina. Saw 104 air yards in week 11, which led to 10.6 PPR fantasy points. Again, up and down season, very volatile, roller coaster. You're going to expect that with Carolina. They're going to be starting Sam Darnold. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback because it's going to be bad, but he keeps getting deep targets. He can make those plays, and maybe you can get lucky for it. If not, maybe throw him in some DFS lineups or something. But those are 15 players I got for you to either pick up or try to trade for this week to try and bolster your fantasy football team, to try and get you into the playoffs. Let me know in the comments below who you're trying to get, who you're trying to pick up off waivers, who you're trying to trade for, what moves you're trying to make. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. It's only going to help you going forward. I'm here to get you into the playoffs with stash plays, waiver wire videos, guys to trade for, and whatever else I can find. But I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.